Hey, gun people, I'm going to do a crazy cop story too. This was about I'm painting my house, so I'm everything's kind of trash, but rain keeps coming in, I can't paint it. So this is about a case that had a lot of twists and turns in it, some legal issues, etc. But I'm working a child abduction case, and this lady's kind of a wacko. She's got 3 kids. She's got some mental issues. She's pretty far out there, but she's got that, California mentality, liberal, I am woman, my kids, screw everybody, and father has no rights. So they're fighting in court and they're going over this, and working child abduction, a lot of times someone in the family will abduct the kids or steal the kids if they think the court's going to give them to somebody, and they go on the run. And that's what happened in this case. So I've kind of dealt with the couple before. I kind of figured out that she's kind of a whack job, and he's kind of a decent, hard-working guy who's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to be cooperative. He's trying to work with her, and at every corner, she's using the system. So she finally starts making accusations that he's, I don't know if it was abusing the kid or beaten or something. There was some accusation. She went in, and then she went in that he abused her. He was mentally abusive to her, so she got a restraining order. So then he couldn't see the kids, and now she had full custody. And so this went on, and we were only involved because there was a custody issue and there was a chance of flight, because evidently she threatened that he would never have the kids and she would do it. So we kind of got involved on the peripheral and kind of went, we'll let it play out in court. And until she takes the kids, there's not a whole bunch we can do. Well, lo and behold, Dad calls, my kids are gone. So we end up working, and I was the lead investigator, so I was kind of like, okay, she's probably going to the next city or county or something. I had no idea this was going to turn into a month-long investigation. I had 3 binders. I think I wrote something like 30-something warrants on this one case. It was just trying to catch this woman. Although she was a wacko and her beliefs and her kidding, she was a pretty intelligent woman. She had smarts. She had a good IQ. So it started off the case, and of course, I go try to do a welfare check after he says their kids are gone. I go to the house. Place looks locked up. Don't see anything. So then I go to where she works. I go to her work, and they're like, you know what? We don't know what happened. She worked at the college out at UC Davis in California. And they go, we don't know what happened, but she just says she quit. She's moving away. And I go, when did she say that? Well, she told us Friday, and I think today was like Monday or something. So I'm like, well, crap, she did run off with the kids. So I asked, is there a computer that I can look at that she used to use, using my computer stuff to see if I can kind of scan through there, see her history, see if I can pick up any clues. And the people at college go, that's funny you mentioned that, because all our systems in our whole department were deleted and erased, and they all crash and have a virus. And we can't get any information from any of them. And I would go, oh shit. And I go, this girl's pretty smart. So she covered her tracks that way. So I go back to her house to see if maybe she didn't leave yet. Maybe she was just starting to leave, because her house would just look like it was locked up and closed. So I go back, and then I look through the window, and I see that, it looks like literally somebody just did this and ran out the house. So I'm like, okay, they didn't leave that long ago. It looks like they left in a hurry. And then while I was in there, either the drapes moved or something, and I was like, holy shit, I wonder if they're in there hiding. I said, I got to get in here. So that's considered an exigency. I don't need a search warrant. I'm moving to protect children. And in child abduction, that's what I liked about working child abduction. One, it's a felony. Felonies give you a whole lot more authority to do a whole bunch of things with the courts. Easier to get warrants, all kind of things. But when you're working child abduction, there's a big umbrella that protects you when you're working with the safety of a child. So, not to say I could go out and just start shooting people in the head, but the court gives us a broad berth of protection when we're dealing with children in danger. It's like an ongoing exigency. So you can do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do without a warrant first. So when I look in this house and I see the drapes move, I go, you know what, I think she's in there. So I check, and I think I either found a window or I busted a window. I had a couple of Davis cops come over. UC Davis is different than Davis Police. And I've got a couple other cop stories about Davis cops, and you'll figure out why these guys are kind of, how do I say, pussies. But anyway, they're just in a liberal environment, and they hire people that are carrying around flowers and, you know, do stupid things like when somebody threatens you on the traffic stop, they get in their car and they leave. But I'll say those stories. So anyway, I call a couple of Davis cops to back me up. I'm going to go in this house, and they get there and they're like, well, we don't think you can go through that window without a warrant. I go, dude, I'm going through the window. I said, I just need you guys out here in case they run out. Well, we're not sure. We think you might need... I go, dude, just stand out here, and if anybody runs out, grab them. That's all I need you to do. So I climb through the window, I go in the house, I look around. It looks like they're gone, the things are plugged out. I find a couple of discs that I definitely want to preserve. So I don't want the apartment complex coming here later saying, hey, they left, we sent somebody in to clean it out, and they destroyed all this evidence. So I got to secure this evidence, and I got to secure this crime scene, because it is a crime scene, because the kids are gone. So then I end up doing all that, and end up going and getting a warrant to go search the place. I search it, I seize all the stuff, so I get it all on a warrant. Well, then the case develops, and her car disappears, and I think the case was so crazy. It's either seen at an airport, no. She's put out a false flag that she was going to the airport. And I'm not sure how I figured this out or how I found out. We found out she was going to the airport. We either had a video or something. So come to find out, she didn't fly out. So we're like, okay, she's driving. So I've got a warrant on the car. I know what car she's driving. We got that warrant. Well, then I find something in one of her computers on one of the warrants that she's searching Canada or routes to Canada. So I'm like, okay, she's going to try to cross the lines at Canada, the border. So I notify the agents on the border, and I go, hey, I sent out a flyer, sent her a picture. Hey, she's got 3 kids. They're at risk. The father's worried. She's on the run. We don't know what she's going to do. She's in this crazy state. She's violating court order, ongoing cut, whatever. So I got the warrant out there. Well, then she ends up going to a friend in Canada, gets on her computer and does something. Well, I had a tracking on her email. I had a warrant on her email tracking. So as soon as she accessed her email, I knew where she was accessing it from. So she's accessing it from Canada, and I'm like, how the hell did she get to Canada? So I call the border agent, and I go, dude, she's in Canada. How did she get across the border? They go, oh, we don't know. So then we end up finding her car at the airport in Canada. She flew, I don't know if she went to Spain. She was going somewhere, but it wasn't Spain, wasn't the final place, because I didn't know she was in Spain till later. So we knew she left the airport because the car was at the airport. Well, we had the border agents go back and review the tapes, and sure enough, here she comes through the gate, driving with 3 kids, plain as day, and a stupid border guard in Canada just flags her all through. And I'm like, dude, I put out a check, I give you a vehicle description, I give you, and you just let her drive through? And they go, we missed her, you know, not that big of a deal. All right, so she gets away there. So the friend that helped her in Canada used the computer. I end up sending the cops. I call them the Mounties. What do they call it? RCMP. So I call them, say, hey man, I need you guys to do a warrant. I got a felony warrant. This is a fleeing fugitive. She's got kids. Kids are in danger. I need you guys to kind of drop everything, go to this house to make sure they're still not there. This is before I think we found the car. So there's another part of the crazy story. So the RCMP goes, yeah man, just fax a copy of the warrant. We'll go over there and, you know, kick the door and search the place. I go, great. So they go over there, evidently it's a black guy, and as soon as they get there, it's like, you guys are racist, you're coming in here, it's not fair, blah, blah. So they end up having to use force to get in the house. He refused to enter. They end up arresting him, going in the house. They don't find anything. Then the guy calls me and goes, dude, man, you got us in so much trouble. This dude's suing us now. He's saying we're racist. I go, dude, I told you to go to a place. I didn't know who the guy was. I said, how is this? He goes, I know, man, but, you know, he goes, it's just the way our country is. They're just crazy over here. So he got all cut. So I pissed off and I burnt my lease. So he goes, dude, man, if you call us to give him a warrant, we're not so sure we're going to help. I'm like, it was a legitimate warrant. You guys did the right thing. I did the right thing. And because this guy's going to sue you, now you're not ever going to do a warrant for me again? But anyway, so that was one. So the case develops. The house she's in. She's somewhere, and I'm following her email, and I'm not getting it. She stops using her email. So I'm like, crap. So the leads are kind of falling out. I'm not sure. We know she got on a plane. We know her last destination where she went, but we didn't know for sure where she was at. So I'm talking to the DA's working a case and a couple other investigators, and they're trying to get some ideas, and I'm not sure how it came up, but it's like, you know what, last ditch effort, I'm going to go out to school and interview her friends and her teacher and see if she maybe talked one of the kids, because kids will say things that they don't, you know, we're leaving, we're going on vacation or something. So I go out and I talk to kids. I end up finding one of her friends. I pull her friend over and question her, and she's like, well, I don't know if I should be talking to you. I want my parent. And so I kind of put the pressure and the screws on her a little bit. Hey, you don't have a right to your parent. You need to do, because she's in a public school, so she's custody of the government. I cover that in another video. When you give your kids to school, you give them to the government. We don't need parents' permission to do what we want with your kids. So I kind of get her and I go, look, you need to tell us. I said, you know, she could be in danger. She's not in danger. I know she's okay. I don't want to tell you. I go, look, you got to help me out. We end up talking. She finally ends up saying, well, my friend emailed me. I go, oh, another lead. I got another email account. So she gives me this email that she got from this girl saying, you know, I'm doing fine. I'll get back with you later. Not much information, but now I have an email address. So I know I can get a warrant for that. So I go back to the office, and I'm sitting on a computer, and I try to sign in with this email address. And I'm like, well, if I was a kid, what kind of email would I use? So I just start trying different passwords that I might use as a kid. And I don't remember what the password was, but sure as shit, after about an hour, I hit it. The email signs me in, and I'm like, holy shit. So I haven't done a warrant yet. So technically, that would be hacking. I can't just go in. I think now you can with the damn Patriot Act. You can go in anybody's, you can do what the hell you want. But back when I was doing this, there was still rights that people had, and you couldn't access their email or something without a warrant. So when I end up hitting this email and I get it, I go, holy shit, I'm in her account. Now what do I do? So in those situations, and it's covered in the law, when you're a cop and you get in those situations to where you gain access to information and you realize that you should have a warrant, the proper procedure is to freeze what you're doing, preserve the evidence, make sure nothing else does it, but you can't like go through it and gather intel. You just freeze the scene and then you go get a warrant. Well, I'm in her email account and I'm like, how do I freeze this? I'm not there, but I'm actually logged in as her. So what I do is I go into her settings and I click, because it wasn't save a copy of sent email. So I click save sent email. So now every time she sends an email, there's going to be a copy. So I'll be able to go back in there later and see who she's emailing. So, and then I open all her emails, and any emails to this girl, I start copying and I print out. And I don't read it. And people are like, dude, you should have just read it. And look, it's against the law. I just didn't do that. I didn't read it because I figured I'd go to a judge and judge would give me authorization to read it. So I print out all this stuff, and I'm just hitting print because I'm like, oh, any second she could try to log on, and I'm already logged on. She might get notified that, you know, somebody accessed your account from California and here you are overseas somewhere. So I'm kind of in a panic just printing shit. Print. Shit, put paper in the printer. So I print all these emails and I get all this stuff and then I just log off. So I write down the last password I did because now I got the password to her account. Got all these documents. I put them in an envelope and I take them to the judge. And I tell the judge, hey, well, first I told the DA, and the DA's like, well, technically you were hacking and you could be charged, but since you were in the pursuit of a child in danger, we probably have an exception and you probably will be okay, but, you know, it depends what the judge says. And I'm like, oh, whatever. I said, I didn't read the shit. And they go, you sure you didn't read it? I go, no. He goes, why didn't you read it? I go, because this is against the law. I'm not supposed to read it. I'm only supposed to secure it. So they go, all right, well, go ask the judge. So, and a couple of DAs are like, dude, you're stupid. I wouldn't ask the judge because if he says no, he might seize those documents, then you're never going to get it. He goes, I would read it or make copies. I go, I ain't doing that shit. I go, it is what it is. If she gets away because of this, she gets away. So I go to the judge and I do my warrant, scratch out a warrant, go to the judge, talking to the judge is reading it and he goes, you guessed the password? And I go, yeah. I said, I can't believe it. He goes, man. He goes, that's pretty interesting. He goes, good job. And he goes, so what did the email say? And I don't know if he was testing me or not. I didn't really think about it because I didn't really care. I didn't read them. I go, I don't know. I didn't read them. He goes, you didn't even look at it at all. I go, no, I was just hitting print. He goes, so you don't know what's in all these documents? I go, no. I said, that's why I put in a warrant. I want your permission to read them. And so he's kind of like shocked and he's like, okay. He goes, good job. You got my permission, read it. And he goes, you also got my permission to access the account because I put that in a warrant. I want to access her account. I want to put a tracking. I want all IP addresses that she contacts from, where she logs on. So he agrees. He gives me the warrant. He goes, go read the email, see what you got. So I'm like, as soon as I'm out of his office, I'm in the hallway like, oh man. So I find out she emails her friend, and she says, I'm sitting here looking at a great body of water. It's so beautiful. We're so happy. I can't tell you where we're at because my mom told me that my dad is crazy and will come and try to kill us. So she's brainwashing the kids. And then she goes, let's just say the body of water I'm looking at, we'll call it Bob. B-O-B. So get on the map, looking around. And here, our last flight, not too far, was from Spain. And right off of Spain, there's the Bay of Bispan, or Bay of Bispan, I think it was. B-O-B. And I go, shit, she's looking at that body of water. So I said, I think she's in Spain. So I get an international warrant. I go through Interpol and get with them. They put out a red notice, and I have a warrant to pick her up. Well, later I find out, because I got tapped, she's contacting her mom in Florida. And later I find out she's calling her mom. I call her mom. Her mom's like, screw you, that's my daughter. I ain't helping you. She left. She's got my grandkids. I'm helping her. You can't do nothing. I'm in Florida. You're in California. I ain't helping you. I was like, look. So I don't remember how. I think when I searched the apartment, or later when I found some location, somehow I came up with a, where do you wire money? What do you call that? A Western Union. I came up with a Western Union receipt for like $600 from Grandma. And it was to her. I think I had a track on her name or something. Or I called Western Union and said, hey, have you got any for this name or something? I forgot how I got it. But anyway, I ended up finding out Grandma sent her money. So guess what? Grandma's gone to jail. Grandma got run over by a reindeer. She got ran over by Rick Gore in his pursuit. She's helping this lady. I want these kids back. She's refusing to help. I put a warrant. I have her picked up. I tell her I need to talk to her or something because she wouldn't give me information. I couldn't find her. She was pretty well hidden like her daughter. And I finally get her to call me at a certain time, and she's going to call me back at a cell phone number, or a payphone. That's when they had payphones. So she goes to this payphone, calls me, I get the number, I do a reverse, find out the location, I call the Florida cops and say, hey, she's going to be here at this date calling me back. Here's a picture of Grandma. I need her picked up. Here's a warrant. So Grandma shows up to call me back. Yeah, you wanted me to call you back? I said, yeah, the cops should be there to arrest you in a minute. She goes, what? And then I hear the cops in the background. Ma'am, you're under arrest. So she's like, oh, shit. So we get her Grandma, which is unfortunate, because I know Grandma just wants to have a kid, but hey, you're impeding my investigation. I want to get these kids back. Dad's worried. I don't know what this crazy woman's doing with these kids. You're collateral damage. Sorry, Grandma, you're going to jail. So Grandma goes to jail, and they bring her back by bus. So she's in custody from Florida for I don't know how long. She just took the bus back. So it was like a week before I even got her. So in the meantime, I'm still trying to track down this woman and find out where she's at. I'm calling, and then somehow I get a warrant through Western Union to say I want to know where that money went to, or what bank, or where it was picked up. So I get the bank in Spain, and then I do a warrant for the bank in Spain to get them to provide me if this girl has an account. She does have an account there, so I'm like, okay, this is her account, that's her bank, she's going there. So I call the Spain cops and I go, dude, you got to go pick her up, blah blah. Well, Spain's a liberal country, and they look at parental disputes like that as non-criminal. So they're like, you know what? She's the mom of the kids. We don't really care what you say. The warrant's in the system, so if we catch her, we got to arrest her, but we're not going to the bank. I'm like, are you kidding me? I've gone through all this. I've got her, and you're not going to go get the kids. You're going to do... No. So Grandma finally ends up coming back, and then Grandma ends up cooperating. She gets out of jail, and to prevent from getting charged with aiding the apprehension or interfering with the investigation and aiding a fleeing felon, I think the DA's cut her deal. You go on probation, see you later. So she had to pay her way back to go. Basically, it was inconvenience. A lot of what government and all this is kind of inconvenience. You burn people's resources. You burn out who's helping them. Sooner or later, they don't have any help, and then they make it easier to find them. So she's over there, and then I'm still working a case. About a week later, I get a call. She's in custody. Interpol calls me and go, hey, your warrant was picked up. Spain arrested her at the police department. And I'm like, what the hell? She got arrested. So I get on the phone. I get all the calls. I'm like, what is she doing being arrested over there at the police department? Well, evidently she was hooking and prostituting to support herself over there. So when she's got some John in there, some dude comes in. This poetic justice, I love it. A guy who she hates men, hates the dad for being mad. A guy goes in, has sex with her, refuses to pay, steals her passport, and leaves. So she goes in the police department to report her passport stolen, and this guy ripped her off. And they go, hey, we got a warrant for you. And she's in custody. So we ended up getting the kids back, Dad. It ended up a good way. She was kind of in a bad way. She stayed. We couldn't extradite her because Spain said, we're not going to extradite her back to you because the crime, it's not a criminal offense here or whatever, so we're just going to hold her, but we're going to fight extradition. So she ended up staying, I want to say, a year or 2 years in jail, in prison, and finally they released her, or we indicted. Somehow we got her back. She agreed to come back because the DA agreed that we would give her time served for her time over there in jail if she came back to go to court to get the custody thing handled, etc. Because she wasn't going to come back, even without her kids. She didn't want to come back without her kids. She wanted to come back here. So she comes back, they go to court, and it worked out. I mean, she's still a whack job. I think Dad got custody. The kids are safe. The kids are better. The kids were brainwashed. They were dirty. They weren't being taken care of. Mom's hooking to pay. But anyway, the case ended. It was a good case. It had a lot of twists and turns. You know, I think it's a crazy story. It was one of the more interesting cases. The best thing about that case, the best thing about working child abduction, is when the kids got back, a lot of times we would be at the airport. We'd either go get them, and then we would be at the airport, and the parents and father would be there, so we would be there for the reunion to give the kid back. Actually, during 9/11, when the planes flew in, I was in Maine picking up a child, a 2 or 3 year old, that was abducted by the father and being held and hidden in Maine somewhere, and I was flying back on 9/11 that day. And I was supposed to be on one of the planes coming out of Pennsylvania. I'm not sure, I never checked to see if it was the right number, but coming out of Pennsylvania at the same time that the plane crashed. And because we had a kid and the flight was overbooked or something, they changed it, it was delayed. They changed us to another flight. We got back earlier because we had a kid. I was flying armed as a cop. So they gave us a little special treatment, bumped us up and moved us. And I woke up next morning, everybody's like, yo man, we're getting attacked by 911. But different case. Anyway, the good thing about the child abduction cases is you get to see the parents who was denied their custody, who their kids were abducted, and you know, every once in a while I had to get a kid back to somebody that I really didn't want to, and I didn't think it was good, but you know, it was what it was. I had to go with what the court orders were and who was violating law and who did the best at the case. So anyway, that's another crazy cop story on child abduction.